Yo, 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 what is going on, IK fam? BN, I am bringing it to you. Well, not really live, but wanted to try and see how this recording went. This is actually our first mobile attempt. We did a couple test recordings, and I'm hoping that quality should be okay along with pictures. So we're going to try this out. Now, we have a level 6 city siege that is going on right now. As you can see, I'm not being extremely helpful until we do launch a couple of attacks. Our resident bad boys, or oh gosh, what's the Mighty Ducks bad boy reference for them? God, I'm totally forgetting, but that's totally where I would label Fubar and Babson, our resident bad shiitake mushroom boys and gals. Now, let me go ahead, and I just wanted to make a quick video on doing, which is going to be a very short and pretty fast city siege. As you can see, the garrisons are going down relatively easy on this level 6 city as we're looking to try and finish up our Chronicles here for this event on having the 9 level 6 or higher cities captured. As you can see, right, when you're looking at a standard city that is not a capital, you're able to line up pretty easy on the city when you kind of look at how the layout is. And this is something that I usually like to explain to people by kind of giving them the visual aid, right? You can see here that each of the positions all kind of fit in cozy. Now, a capital city is a little different because, again, you kind of have to line up extending outwards in somewhat of a like a quad angle that I have to give an example on another video. But in short, right, we've talked about good practices before, and I don't want to spend the majority of the time talking specifically about what you're going to see on how to line up for a city, but just kind of know these things are important. And a lot of what we may refer to is kind of this ring one, and then you'll see you have ring two, right? We kind of refer to this as the second layer, the second ring that you'll see. And then coincidentally, the third. And so these are just good things to keep in mind when you're looking at how to prep and kind of set up for a city. Of course, as we always recommend, strongest first on the inside. And this level 6 city went down pretty quick, which is nice because hopefully it's going to tee up the eventual level 7 cities, or for what I should say, the level 7 capitals that will eventually be sieging next. Now, this is kind of going to be a little bit of an S79 update video on how things are going, in addition to showing you a little bit of the kind of end footage there. So we're at 33 days from what you could see there. And relatively, you'll notice that unlike other maps, right, our map is a little different, and that's because of what we've talked about before, which is that in our server, we're really focusing on going off of the RSS zones, right? So this is a big thing that we're doing very different than probably almost every other server, with the exception of any potential new servers that may have just caught wind of kind of how we're going about progressing, or maybe if there is a few other servers out there that are trying and testing this out as well. I just know for us, this is the first server that I've heard of since we started in 79 that have been approaching their city distributions from day one in this way. And so far it's been working out really well, and now it's a matter of, we're kind of at this point now at our 33-day mark, and you may be figuring out this for yourself as well if you are in a server where you're looking to start doing some merging and some condensing. Because right now on our boards, I think DF for us were 4. We had just removed about 10 people. And I want to say we're at 105. Yeah, still 105. So, we kind of just opened it up as we had removed about 10 inactives. And now we got filled in less than 12 hours, which is really good based on where we're at right now. But the thing is that you're really going to need to start looking at doing condensing, right? Once you kind of get to that first month and a half mark, right, you're then going to start looking at more of your kind of medium to large size mergers. And that's essentially what we're doing right now in 79. We're really just trying to condense really to arguably our top 15, but more specifically the top 5 that are within each faction. And that's really the main hope here. You can kind of see that once upon a time Red did have 5 healthy alliances as far as that were pretty close in power for 3 to 5 for the number 3 to 5 position. I believe they are working currently on rebuilding right now the 5th and doing some funneling of players. But the amazing thing is that we were actually able to get a hold of a couple shell alliances outside of the ones that we had been preparing for early on, specifically for migration purposes. So something that is really just more of a fairy tale, but hopefully in a good way for any kind of incoming players, groups, or even full alliances that are interested. It's really nice because it just gives us more opportunities and more pieces to offer players and or groups that would be considering coming in. You can see green, right, for the most part, at least out of the 4 alliances, is probably, I'd say, a little bit on the weaker side of the factions. But thankfully, through us doing some more merge condensing, that eventually when migration opens, that is going to be solving a lot of that nicely. Now, as some may know, right, with kind of what we have in 79, the interesting thing here is that, we're now getting to a point, and this is probably even the bigger point that I really want to talk about, because this is something that beyond everything is really important to understand when you are preparing for what your mid game and your end game is going to look like, as far as how you interact with other alliances. The big takeaway here, and I'm going to give an example based on what we had come up here with Potomoy. So there was another alliance, Nord, that you'll see here, that was initially lined up for this city. The challenge is that to take a level 6 city, you have to be at 49,661 troop power or higher. And that's mainly to take away 1 garrison from it or more. And we did specifically talk about this in our previous video as far as like how not to fail a siege. But the reason why this is important to retouch on, at least for this brief moment, is because they were setting up to try and siege the city. Now, they had a first attempt, but it failed. And then they did a second attempt, which was, I want to say it was yesterday, or at least on Friday, I should say the 3rd or 2nd, depending if I'm getting my dates mixed up. And actually, never mind, there's a thing right here, yeah, because we're on Saturday. Yeah, so it was yesterday on the 3rd. And they ended up failing that as well. And the main reason that they failed it was similar to what we talked about in the previous video. If you look at strongest troop power, and this probably has changed by now, but let's just go down here and you'll see, right, there's, I think those are the only ones there in those positions. Let's take a quick look. Okay, yes. So you'll see here, right, Unstoppable 54513, there's Jormagon 52227, and then the next person's 50623, right? So these players, and you have Dragon Love, right, as well, a little above, but for the most part, right, then you have King Bjorn at 48943. So there's 4 players that are over the garrison power, but 2 of them are really in a better position to actually take away 1 garrison per attack. The big thing to recognize is that if you are, and this is more so coming in from a leader's perspective, if you are not strong enough, if your alliance does not have enough players that are able to beat the garrison, you should not be sieging the city. You should be waiting. You should be going back to RSS. You should be going back to any controlled districts that you own a city in, so you can start getting those RSS bonuses or the gathering speed increase bonuses, and basically just hanging out there and educating your players on best practices tips so they can power up, and then eventually over time, right, because that's the only thing that you need is time. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to eventually capture a higher level city. You will. It's just that some alliances who maybe have players that spend money, or if they're just powering up and they're grinding more than your free-to-plays are grinding, right, they may be in a better position to take a higher level city faster than you can. It does not mean that you will eventually not be able to capture the city. You will, but it just takes time, right? You just have to power up. And eventually, once you get strong enough, then you can re-siege the city and take it, right? It's easy peasy. Though, the challenge here, and this is the bigger thing that I really want to touch on more so, is that you're going to come across some leaders, and I would even love to hear from you, the people, on, right, if you're a player, if you're an officer in any server, right, and I'm sure you've come across this at some point, whether it's an Infinity Kingdom or another kingdom builder, where, you were playing and your lead just wanted to take a city, or they wanted to take an objective as soon as they could, without any regard for if they would actually have a high chance to capture it, right, or be successful in their attempt. And part of that is having a good understanding of game mechanics. Part of that is understanding how strong you actually have to be, how many players you need above the garrison power, how long it takes to do an attack at intervals, factoring in healing times as well for delays. And then, of course, how many players you specifically have that are able to either take one garrison away from the columns or multiple. And oftentimes what we find is that the majority of leaders just do not have a good understanding, or I don't know if I should say the majority, but a good amount of leaders across the board that are just looking to start an alliance just do not have a good understanding of these specific game mechanics. And it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean they're not good leaders. But what it does mean is that they need to take time out of their day to learn the game a little bit more, right? Because, again, this isn't a difficult thing to learn, but if you don't know it, then there's no way of you preparing for it, right? There's no way of you having a realistic expectation when you go in to do your siege, or how you even prepare for the siege prior. So, again, these are just things to keep in mind, as I've seen this come across, and even came across as well in our situation here, where Nord attempted it, and they ended up failing it twice, and then we moved in and now we're trying it. But the thing is we've told Nord, like we have other alliances too, that are active and healthy and contributing to the server in a healthy way, right? That the only reason we're taking some of these cities sooner and doubling up on some levels is because we're just trying to push Chronicles, which, again, the majority of those are also going to help all players on the servers because it's free rewards for everyone. And then eventually, over time, once they become strong enough, right, we'll help these alliances that are contributing, as we have been doing through day one. So that's one of the unique things about what we do in 79 is, and really, a big shout out to Fubar and Babson, other players as well that have been going around, my buddy Shikamaru and countless others, right? I mean, the list would go on too long if I was to do nothing but just shout outs. But a lot of these players from day one have set an amazing precedent where they have just gone around and basically helped anyone and everyone, right? A lot of alliances, specifically ones that are within and then even outside of the family, and helping them with city sieges, right? Up until we started getting to like the level 6, because it just started being a little harder. So, we had to kind of start doing that in a more organized fashion, where they weren't able just to go there and kind of solo the cities by themselves for these alliances and then just let them do the last garrison hits as they were doing for some before. So again, right, it's an amazing effort, and it really has helped, I think, 79 grow and really kind of set a good pace for what it is eventually going to turn into, which is just a fantastic server where we really are a big family, everyone, right? Regardless if players are within the Fallen Family alliances or not, we're here to help everyone and share with everyone, and that has always been our mission from day one, and we continue to keep doing that and strive for that. So anyways, with that being said, that's kind of going to be my last little tidbit here. If you are a player, as always, and I'll probably start mentioning these on some of my S79 videos, or maybe all of them, but again, migration for us is going to be coming up here in what, 67, 57 days. And again, we do have a migration application if you're an individual player, if you have a group of friends, if you're half of an alliance or a full alliances, right, we can accommodate anyone and everyone. Please feel free. You can reach out to me. I'll have my Discord, as I'll be kind of the lead migration rep, along with a S79 migration application that you can find in the description of this video, and I'll be trying to leave it in a pinned comment as well. If you're looking for a little bit more information on 79, there's already a lot of interested parties, shockingly, even though we haven't even been really promoting heavily yet. But yes, that is going to round it out for me. Let me know what you guys think about anything I talked about or said. I would love to hear some of those stories if you're someone who has been in a server and you have had a leader that was just, we need to do this now, or, we're not going to wait, and, kind of how that situation turned out. Let me know in those comments down below. That's it for me. Until next time. And I guess until next time we try another mobile recording. Hopefully this one goes well. We will catch y'all later.